My name is Reverend Robert Brzezinski. Thank you for having me. I'm so grateful that you're here today. I always start with quick thank yous. Thank you if you were here online. Those that stayed home and staying warm and cozy in bed today, thank you for being a part of our community. And for those that are here in the room, thank you so much for braving the cold. I know it is frigid out there, but it's warmer in here than it is out there, so that's a good thing, and that gets us started as well. The thank yous continue as this is the final Sunday in a long series that we've been doing here to kick off the year and get back to basics. The Burning Bowl ceremony on January 1st was amazing, and then we started with Reverend Millie Forsberger as she spoke about the first section of the Science of Mind, what it is. Reverend Elzia for 2 weeks talking about the big beefy part of that introduction, and a great big thank you to Jamie Lula for being with us last week as well. And I get my most favorite topic of all, how to use it. How to use this thing called the Science of Mind. So if you haven't been with us and you have a copy of the Science of Mind textbook, you can kind of catch up. We're in the fourth section of the introduction, and we're using some material that comes to us also from, many know, the Science of Mind. There is Centers for Spiritual Living. There's a team that puts together information every week, and we loosely follow that as well. And as part of that, today, what their source material was actually a book called Living the Science of Mind. Now, some of us may be familiar with this, some of us may not. It's okay. It was required coursework type of book back many, many years ago when I got started. I know for some of us in the room, most likely as well. Now it's been sitting on, I love this. It's been sitting on my shelf for a couple of years probably since I opened it, and opening it in preparation for today's talk was a lot of fun. So we're celebrating life as source today, and I want to kick this off with a quote or two. First up from Ernest Holmes from the essay, The Great Surrender, in this book. You have to lose your hate if you wish to find love. You have to let go of everything that is unkind if you wish to discover kindness. You even have to surrender fear if you wish to discover faith. And so today what we'll be looking at is discovering some faith and letting go of the fear. And as Alice's reading so greatly brought forward, re-embracing the sense of love that is the truth, that is the very nature of who we are. Ernest Holmes continued in that same essay, when we surrender our falsehoods, our fears, and our doubts, we free ourselves to live out loud in celebration. Every day becomes a day to celebrate the simplicity and the beauty of life itself. And I don't know about anybody in the room or anybody online. However, when my dear wife and I found this philosophy, seems like forever ago now, and I won't count the years, but and what I loved the most was Sundays was not about beating ourselves over the head for our mistakes. It wasn't about asking for forgiveness for something we had done. It wasn't about making attritions. It was all about celebrating the wins that we experienced in our lives. I think now more than ever, it is absolutely fabulous to be celebrating the wins in our lives. We have faced the adversity, we have faced the trials and the tribulations, and now we get to celebrate. I realized last night, and I don't know if I've shared this with anybody in the room yet or not, this is actually the very first time that I've been invited to speak for the Center for Spiritual Living Denver in real life, like on the stage. I got to put on the tie today and everything. I've been speaking to this community for a couple, 2-3 years now with the pandemic, but those have always been virtual. And it is that virtual adversity that we have traveled through that is helping us to demonstrate our faith, I believe. So here at the Science of Mind, I believe in the philosophy, we have one real basic assumption. And that is, as a human being, you want to be happy, prosperous, and well. 3 easy things to remember. But if we go back to our first quote, we're reminded you have to lose your hate if you wish to find love. You have to let go of the unkindness if you want to discover kindness, and you have to surrender the fear if you wish to discover faith. So it really all comes back down to one word. And it's not the one we want to see. It's the fear. It always comes back to that fear. And how do we suspend that fear? How do we eliminate that fear? Now, if you've been around this movement for more than a couple of days, you have probably heard the most obvious acronyms for fear. I don't use those because I'm not about forgetting everything and running. I'm not about bailing on what we're creating and what's being called. So a long time ago now, I developed my own reminder for the word fear, and that is forgetting to empower absolute reality. Forgetting to empower the absolute reality. Or you could even say engage. Engage that absolute reality. Now, what is the absolute reality? The absolute reality is you are a divine expression of God. You are already whole, complete, and perfect just as you are. There's nothing wrong in your life, nothing broken in your life, nothing missing from your life. And everything that is necessary for the fulfillment of your life is going to come forward into your life exactly as necessary. The problem is we forget about this a little bit. We forget this truth. We have the ability within us to control and change the conditions of our lives. So whatever it is that isn't happening, we have the ability to make it happen. And oftentimes we're given blank slates. I love that CSL Denver has switched their early song, that opening song, to The Garden. Now, it's what, 5 degrees, 7 degrees in Denver today, right? But if you look at my recent internet history, you're going to find all kinds of internet searches about gardening ideas, gardening, and this, because I've got this idea that I want to grow some of the finest hot peppers in Denver. Now, I've never really grown hot peppers. We tried last year. I grew 2 peppers last year. They weren't that hot. But I grew 2 peppers, and I have this image, this divine idea that I want to grow good hot peppers. So here we are in the midst of the cold, thinking about that garden. The garden that is our life, the garden that we are creating. And my family, my wife and I recently moved into a new home. We have this beautiful blank canvas of how do we want to create that garden. So it starts with a vision. It starts with a mental equivalent. We have the power to create all of what we use, all of it's out there. However, what I think happens is, and I know it has happened in my life, is I run into that fear. And it isn't always a fear. Sometimes it's a fear of missing out on something. Sometimes it's a fear of the failure of not accomplishing something. Sometimes it's the fear that I don't know what I'm talking about, and nobody really believes me anyway. Traditionally, for the first 4 weeks of the Science of Mind, one of the reasons I love having this section to talk about how to use it is because one of my all-time favorite quotes is in this section. Ooh, get a little emotional, just because I haven't said this publicly in a long time, but it's here. Hence it follows that if we believe that it, now I've underlined it here to represent the divine, God, the one. Whatever name you want to call it by, Allah, Buddha, Brahma, Yahweh, Vishnu, Kuan Yin, Source Energy, whatever name you want to use to describe the divine, in this passage, Holmes is using the term it. So hence it follows that if we believe it will not work, it really works by appearing to not work. When we believe it cannot and will not, then according to the principle it does not. But when it does not, it still does, only it does according to our belief that it will not. Everybody follow that one?
Yeah.
I remember sitting there going, what? Hey, hold on, time out, can we start this again? It is our fear that causes our failures. And what is fear? Forgetting to empower the absolute reality. So what we're about today, and what we should be about, I believe, I said should, what we can be about every day is empowering the absolute reality. And so our work, in so many ways, is to transform the fear into faith. We are required. That is everything we are about. Now, for many also that have been around the New Thought movement for a while, there's a whole great process of how we can do this, and a workshop around fear and faith, and how to. I'm not here to talk about that. That is an absolute valid and effective avenue through which to transmute your fear into faith. However, I think it's even simpler than a 4-hour workshop. I think you can do that right here today, in the next 15 minutes, in the next 10 minutes. And we don't have to get into our biggest, deepest, darkest fears. That I'm not good enough. That nobody likes me. That my ears are funny. My head isn't shaped properly. Or my butt looks too big in these pants. Thank you, Tim. See, what we have to do, and whatever it is that comes up, all we have to do is surround ourselves with the reminders of our own perfection. So Holmes gives us one of these. I've got a couple here. In this same essay, Holmes says, a new light is coming into the world. We are on the borderland of a new experience. A veil between spirit and the veil between spirit and matter is very thin. The invisible passes into visibility through our faith in it. So if a fear came forward, whatever little fear came forward, let's just take that and set it aside for a minute. And let's consider what is it we'd like to experience rather than the fear. Rather than the hate, we want the love. Rather than the unkindness, we want the kindness. Rather than the fear, we want the faith. What you hold in your mind, in the invisible right now, can become real just like that. Holmes tells us. The invisible passes into visibility through our faith in it. Will it happen? Yep. Absolutely. I spoke a little bit already today about this new home we have. And like many families, I think we experienced all kinds of unique stuff during the pandemic. And one of those is we realized that we had much bigger of a house than we wanted. And my brother had been living with us, and a change in his life left us with a much bigger house than we really even needed, and not really looking to take on a roommate in March and April and May of 2020. And so we moved from that house into a much smaller home. It was available on the market. It was a good price at the time. It was what was there. It served the need. But it wasn't the dream. It served the need. And during our time there, my wife and I and our kids kept holding the vision of what it is we really did want. A 2-car garage. We've had a garage for a long time. This is the first house in a long time we didn't have a garage. We wanted that garage back. We wanted room to grow a garden. We wanted to be closer to the school for my youngest so that they could get back and forth to school, and truthfully, so that we didn't have to break up our day and drive them back and forth anymore. We had our desires of what we wanted, but it wasn't showing up. And it wasn't showing up. And every so often I'd check the listings and I would look and it wasn't showing up. And I'd look and it wasn't showing up. And then it showed up. The house we're in now. But it wasn't ours yet. Because I had the faith, but I had to get my wife on board. And the gentleman anyone with a spouse knows what I'm talking about. Let's be clear. So the faith wasn't fully there for Spirit to move and say, okay, you really want you. Now, here's the interesting part. So I'm watching the listings, and this house that I've looked at on the pictures and it could work, it's gone like that. 2-3 days and it's gone. Never even had a chance to schedule a look. Okay. About 2 weeks later, it shows back up. Well, okay, this time I'm first in line. This time we get a tour, and Laura was busy. I took a look at the house. I wandered through. This could work. Came back. Gone again. Wow. Okay. Didn't even get to show it to her, and gone again. And then about 2 months later, the house showed up again in the listings. And this time we got a chance to walk through it. And I even asked the agent right there, I was like, I've been watching this place come on and off the market for about 2-3 months now. What's wrong with this house? What is it that we're walking into? Because my faith is that the perfect house will be there, the perfect place to raise our family, the perfect place to grow a garden, the perfect place to grow ourselves is here. But this place is starting. Well, we got the whole story. We got the whole thing. It went through. Great. And now I'm in a lease with another landlord for the house that we're already in. Step by step by step. Every time something appeared to show up as an obstacle, I would look at Laura and I say, we have faith that if this is meant to be, it's going to happen. If this isn't our place, then it won't happen. If this isn't our place, something will get in the way. The financing won't come through. Somebody will say that we'll realize something. A water pipe will break it. He'll take it off. If it's not ours, it won't happen. But if it happens, we have to be willing to say yes to what comes forward, because this is where we place our faith. A new light is coming into the world, and we are on the borderland of that new experience. We can bring the invisible vision of a world that works for all life into the visible form. We can, if you can do it for a house, you can do it for a car, for a job, for a relationship, for anything. This stuff works. But you got to work it. You have got to work it. Holmes also said a new science, a new religion, and a new philosophy are rapidly being developed. This is in line with the evolution of the Great Presence, and nothing can hinder its progress. How many of us look at the pandemic as a setback? For those of you online, I can't see if you're raising your hand, so nobody in the room did. The pandemic was a great opportunity. And many took that opportunity and ran with it. It was part of the progress. But now we've got to take that progress to the next level. We've got to take that progress to the next stage. We've got to take the vision into who we are. So I know there's at least one person in the room going, okay, so how do I do that? Well, I have a call for you this week, and it's multi-stepped. The first is a 2-part contemplation, and I'm going to ask you to do this throughout the week. at least a couple times. And if you'd like to connect with me or any of the practitioners here at CSL Denver, Reverend Elzia, we'd all be more than happy to chat with you about your contemplations of these questions. So the first one is, what must I surrender? Remember, in our opening quote, we have to let go of the hate to feel the love. We got to let go of the unkindness. We've always got something that wants to be surrendered, that wants to be let go of. So what is it that you must surrender? What must I surrender in order to experience the life I desire? And then the second part of that question, what is mine to do? What really is mine to do? A great sage friend, long time ago, in a business conference, asked a question of the audience. She said, how many people here want to make a lot of money? And a lot of hands went up. And then she said, how many people here want to save the world? And a bunch of hands went down. More people in that room wanted to make more money than save the world. Now, she had another question that went with it, and that question was, how much money do you think it takes to save the world? And her point was that some of us need to go out there and make a lot of money. I'm not going to vilify anybody for bringing the consciousness of the science of mind into the corporate world, into a sales job, into a phone job, into fast food, into anywhere you might be in the world. And I'm not going to vilify those that sit and do the work in consciousness. And what we know as religious scientists is the work begins in our consciousness. We must have that vision. We must know what we want in order to experience the demonstration of it. And so the call is, what is mine to do? Because I can't do it all. Now, in Denver, there are more than enough causes to get involved with. So many great things. Because there are so many people out there that are still living in fear. They're still afraid and haven't found the faith that says, I can pull myself up, I can ask for help, I can find help. It's not a lack of help. There are organizations all over this city, all over this state, all over this country that will help the people that are still living in fear. All they have to do is say, I'm ready to live it by faith. And it doesn't even have to be this faith. The faith traditions and the faith communities across this planet are doing great work. And we are too. So the contemplation doesn't go quite far enough, however. So the second question usually is, okay, so how do I know this is working? Well, here's what we're going to do. It's called the Power of Prayer Challenge. I'm going to invite you over this next week to document for nobody but yourself. You do not have to turn this in. You will not be graded at the end of the week. Document 3 demonstrations of prayer. We're religious scientists. We've been taught for years how to use this stuff is by using our consciousness to create a powerful spiritual mind treatment, sharing that prayer, releasing it into the law, and living in faith that it shall be done, that it is already done, that it is already active. So for 3 different prayers. Now maybe that's for a parking spot. Maybe it's for a new lover in your life. Maybe it's for a new avenue of income. I would not suggest going for things like hitting the lottery, striking oil on your property, finding gold lying by the side of the road. Faith is built by the repetition, by the demonstration. A story about my wife and I demonstrating a house For those that know us for the last 20 years, it's nothing new. I got a handful of those. I got a whole list of stories about us demonstrating houses. But that comes from a deep, deep faith that we will always have a roof over our head, that we are served and protected, that we are part of the flow of the divine, that we know how to use this. And we learned how to use this by praying for parking spaces, for people to walk through the door of the restaurant, for friends to find what they're looking for, their peace, their sense of healing, their sense of wholeness. Doesn't take 20 years to do it. Think about it. 3 different things that you'd like to experience in the next week. And if you're not sure how to do a spiritual mind treatment on affirmative prayer, well, I'm going to demonstrate one here in just a minute or so. But if not, I'm looking at least 3 practitioners in the room. Raise your hands. They will be happy to pray with you. They will be happy to share with you words of truth. So we have the Power of Prayer Challenge. Oh, I just went and lost all my notes. That's okay. This one I wrote down just in case. It's our affirmation for the week. And so I'm going to invite you to share this aloud with me. Let's just read it together. It's pretty easy. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Today I celebrate the light I am, the love I express, and the gifts I bring to this amazing adventure called life. That was terrible. Let's try it again. Diego, bring that back up, please. We got to put some faith into this, some love into this. Ready? Today, I celebrate the light I am, the love I express, and the gifts I bring to this amazing adventure called life. With that, I invite you to close your eyes if you're in a comfortable space and join me in that prayer. Join in that consciousness of knowing there is one God, one source, one supply, one never-ending wellspring that is right here, right now, taking form and shape as my life perfectly. And if that one is doing that as my life, it's doing that as the lives of everyone in this room, everyone watching online, everyone watching this at another time, everyone watching this from another dimension, everyone across this planet at any point in time, right here, right now, a divine emanation of God's life. We each bring a unique set of gifts and skills and talents to this thing called life, and each one is here to share that, to be that. To be love, to be kindness, to be faith, to be a living demonstration of the faith that is God's life, that is God's word rolling forth, expressing itself out into the world. So I am in that place of knowing this is happening everywhere I look. Everywhere my eyes land, I see the divine revealing itself in more and more magnificent ways. That is the prayer. I celebrate the light I am, the love I express, and the gifts I bring to this amazing adventure called life. Recognizing that everything is happening exactly as it must, that all the right people, all the right connections, all the right opportunities, all the right resources, all the money necessary, everything necessary to fulfill the divine vision of my life, your life, of each life is coming forth onto this planet right now. It's already here. We're awakening to it. We're revealing the truth. We're pulling back that veil, bringing the invisible into the visible as our lives and in service to the lives of those around us. This is how we use it. We use it for good. We use it for love. We use it for love. And so I am filled to overflowing with a deep sense of gratitude for the truth revealing itself through this day. Grateful to know God's got this word, and more especially grateful to know that it is not mine to do. I get myself out of the way and let God take care of the how. We focus on the what. Let God figure out the how. And celebrate Celebrate the demonstrations. Celebrate the way it shows up. Celebrate when we see it working. Celebrate when we demonstrate and prove to ourselves there's no greater power than the affirmative word, than the truth of the Lord. From this place, I release this word into the law, that ever-creative law that must demonstrate that, in fact, is already operating upon this word, knowing this word could not return void and must be fulfilled. I release this word into that law and let God do what God does. Be God. And if any of this has resonated in any way, please join me in an affirmation of truth as we say together, and so it is.